Good morning, everybody. Are we ready for another weekend live stream? As is the tradition around here, I will pour myself a coffee. Hey, Seamus, you're first. Pour myself a coffee, eat some cheese, and wait for everybody to assemble. So we'll talk about some dungeons and/or dragons, preferably both. Today's cheese is a Puhoi Valley Blue Brie cheese, and I'm going to be eating this with some salada crackers, which is a very I don't know if they've got salada crackers there by Arnott's, and they're right. This brie has actually been sitting in my fridge for a week as I've been churning my way through all the other cheese that I bought. There's some blue in there. Now, what I do with my crackers is I make a little sandwich out of them. Well, normally I do. That's a big chunk of cheese. Okay, can the sandwich idea. Cheers. Very nice. Very nice. That's a perfect compliment to a cracker. Delicious. Yeah. Very nice cheese. So those of you on the Discord or coming over from Discord, you'll know that I was actually on Discord earlier this morning. But I have since had a nap, got up, and now it is 10 o'clock in the morning. So this is a 2-hour early live stream. Just to allow some people who don't normally catch my live streams. Hoorah! Hey Scorch. Nicholas. Joseph. Winter Swede, nice to see you, like him. Shady Grin. I still haven't read the character backstory, Shady Grin. I'll get there. Lucas, Nicholas, Dragon Turtle, nice to see you. Jab. John Gleeman, nice to see you. Hey Robert. Hey Adam. It's nice to see all of you. 37 of you in here like a shot. I love to see that. Yeah, you made it, Kendrick. Nice to see you. Hey, Gadzooks. Sebastian. Hey, Jake. Heathen cheeses give me a cheddar sharp enough to cut my own enemies. Well, one cannot always eat cheddar. One can't eat cheddar every single day. Thank you, Drew. Drew reminding me that this is a monetized live stream. And Greed Dragon would greatly appreciate your offerings. BSA Cursebow. Well, it's nice to see you, BSA. Even if you have to race off to gaming, that's the perfect excuse to miss one of my live streams. You've got a game to run. Oh, if you're going to Greece, you've got to try a feta. Feta cheese is so Greek to me. All of their food, you've got to have some like roast mountain lamb for sure. Are you the only one here that's eaten red dragon cheese? Possibly. Nerds assemble. Yeah, I was thinking that when I said it. All right, Keykeeper. Tome of Foes from Cobalt Press. Tome of Foes, Tome of Beasts. This one? I'm still reading my way through the Acquisitions Incorporated book. And I'm also reading my way through R.A. Salvatore's Drist series of novels. I'm on to number 10, I believe. Yeah, what is red dragon cheese? Enlighten us. Greek food tastes like ogre sweat. Is that what you just said? I beg to differ. What do I think about an openly half-dragon elf that runs a tavern? I think it's about time that I came up with a video on the spell scales. Cheese without bacon is uncivilized. Bacon hasn't been around that long. Yeah, dragons, milk, what? Dragon breasts? I'd love to visit Greece. Did they run any gaming conventions there? Well, the most powerful thing that Drist has defeated, aside from 2 dragons, would probably have to be the Balor, Urtu. And of course, Kryn Shinabon itself, a very powerful artifact. Yeah, spell scales are great. Haha, I can say that, Adam, but you can't. Actually, I'll let it through. It's only fair, since I said it first. Dragonborn, yeah, so Dragonborn, theoretically, could be milked. But we're not going to talk about that this morning. Planet Power Word. Yeah, so there was quite a lot of interest in different variations of the Power Word spells. Power Word Explode was one of the popular ones. Bacon is a Danish invention? I don't actually know. I'll take your word for it, Christopher. You need gyro. What is gyro, Dave? Hey, Dog Draws. You never thought I looked like this. What do you think I look like? Hey, William. Ah, okay, William. Oh, you saw my interview. Oh, there. Yeah, it was a really enjoyable interview. I'm quite looking forward to doing more. Power word cheese. Need a good tiefling name for your character. Thraxus, something like that. Is it a male, female, or other tiefling? Power word dream. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, void dragons are perfect as celestial dragons, temporal dragons for a Spelljammer campaign. This is indeed me, Dog. Both beer and bowling were invented by the Egyptians. That is perfect. Invented by the same time at the same people. Yeah. I wonder if they had league championships and stuff. Oh, Eero is a type of cheese. Ah, that does sound delicious. Well, just because they domesticated pigs doesn't mean the Chinese invented bacon. They are the masters of pork belly, though, for sure. Hero. Hero cheese. Demogorgon? No. When am I going to give you the next Ecology of the Gods video? By no means rush. Well, I don't rush for anybody. I was just curious if you'd scheduled it yet. Not really. I've just, in the Discord channel, I've just recently opened up a Dwarves Only room, the counterpoint to the Elves Only room. And in that's a place where you can ask questions about dwarves and talk about dwarven culture and dwarven gods and things. And the first question I had was on the god of the wild dwarves, Thaghar. So in future videos on dwarves and things, I'm going to be talking about pantheons and individual dwarven gods. But a lot of the information on dwarven gods and stuff is a little like, it's almost too convoluted, really. The source material is just huge. Like the gods and the deities books have tons and tons of information. So it's like I have to condense it even just to fit it into a 20-minute video, and it's just one dwarven god, when I haven't even covered all the most important monsters yet, and I've got a lot of very important remakes of other videos to do. So I need to get onto the dragons and the giants, for instance. Remaking all the dragons videos is a high priority, and that's good not just for showing the improvements to the channel, but also dragon videos do really well, and as a person who's producing a product and earns money from it, the dragon videos around this time of year, where it's like high summertime over in the States and everybody's out having barbecues and stuff and not necessarily watching a lot of YouTube, it's important for me to put out some few videos, pretty good ones with a good return for me. Simic hybrids. Ooh, man, that's a good question. So I love the. I'm a big fan of Magic the Gathering, as everybody should know. I love the fact that Ravnica has brought Magic the Gathering into the D&D fold, and I love all of the new mechanics on all the cards. I've been playing and amassing an army amassment deck as of late, and my icon portrait is one of the Eternal and Undead Troopers. So I really like that whole thing, and I like the Simic hybrids and the whole idea of bioengineering in Dungeons and Dragons, because it's much more prevalent in Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, we've got whole races which are bioengineered, like the Gith, for instance, we're bioengineered. Hobgoblins, we're probably bioengineered because we've got goblins and bugbears are offshoots of a primary species. Things like trolls and stuff with regeneration just scream experiment on us. Hey, thanks, Drew. Hey, thanks, Gadzooks. £5. Wow, thank you. What are the best monsters to use to start messing with the players' heads before they're aware of what's going on? Doppelgangers, mimics. When you're talking like low-level campaigns, mimics and things like that are really good. Any creature that can turn invisible and move around, like doppelgangers and pixies. The Fae, a lot of the Fae operate invisibly, and they mess with reality around them, like they're turning everything into a dream. And ghosts and spirits and things that can move around invisibly as well, really good. Were creatures, so you start off with like a low-level campaign with were rats. They can be a major threat in your local town that compels the group to get out of the town because it becomes overrun with lycanthropes who are thoroughly corrupt. Are you making a video on the Tome of Beasts aboleths? Probably not. I think I pretty much covered it with the aboleth, really. So, Susan Fletcher, Dragon's Milk. 19, a young girl drinks the milk of a dragon mother and gains the magical ability to commune with dragons telepathically. Yeah, great. That's like Siegfried, getting bathed in dragon blood. And I think that was a theme in another series. I think it was not Song of Ice and Fire, that other one. Tad. Can't remember. I've read so many fantasy novels, I'm forgetting them. Beast Conclave Ranger class. Don't really have much of an opinion on the Ranger classes. I think they've almost overthought the Ranger a bit too much, and I think it was a mistake trying to balance it too much because they took the fun out of a lot of the Ranger classes. A lot of people disagree, but I tend to homebrew the Berserkers, Barbarian, and the Rangers to give them a bit more ability based on what the intent of that character class was. Blue's best. So I play every colour of Magic. I don't have any particular preference. I think that blue is the most annoying colour to play against, simply because it quite often takes them so long on their turns to read all the text and figure out what they're doing with their cards. Green and red are probably the most straightforward. Yeah. And a combination of blue and red are quite often the most annoying cards because they're both direct damage and also control. So they shut you down and they blast anything you put on the board, which makes them very hard to counter quite often. But every single deck of Magic has got a weakness. There's no absolute surefire way to beat somebody with Magic Gathering, which is why I like it. So the last cheese is why this what this live stream is called, and I think I'm going to move away from eating cheese at the start of every single live stream and switch over to something else, simply because I don't want to get coronary heart failure from eating cheese all the time. Have you ever eaten hagfish? I guarantee if you've seen a hagfish, you wouldn't eat one. No, Dragon Turtle, I'm just getting around to all of your questions. Rest assured. I mean, if you give me a string of 30 odd questions, it's going to take me a little while to get back to them. That's why I haven't given it the heart and thumbs up yet, because I haven't got back to it. But I mean, I haven't made another video since, so I'm not lagging. Eat fruit. It's an idea. Do Mind Flayers have gods? Yes, they do. El Sensine is one of their gods. But they're not worshippers of gods, if you know what I mean. Mana acceleration is overpowered Magic the Gathering. Well, yes and no. Enough cheese? Yeah. Cheese forever! Jerky instead of cheese? I'm trying to go for something slightly more healthy. Yeah, Stanchgate, don't look up hagfish. They're disgusting creatures. My early history, the origins, origin story is we ran a family restaurant. It was a seafood restaurant, so I've seen a lot of different types of fish, including the most impressive fish, sunfish and moonfish, which are these great big pelagic fish that swim around, huge things, meters across, and they taste absolutely delicious. And I also had an encounter with some hagfish in a bag of green-lipped mussels. It was basically just a big pile of slime. So when an aboleth is, do they go through the ethereal plane like every other mortal creature? Oh, when they die and reincarnate, yeah, they must obviously travel through the ethereal plane, but for some reason they do not go on to the afterlife. So they've got a hands-off policy with the gods. But never say never. What if an aboleth showed up in the afterlife? Talk about a powerful soul, and extremely valuable. They almost are like fantasy creatures, Daniel. The sun and moonfish are amazing. They really are. I've mentioned the various offshoots of the goblin types, but I don't tend to make videos talking about like specific lore of how these crossbreed thingies exist, because they don't really deserve it on a lot of cases. Like if you go with 3.5 edition, they just invented variants of different types of monsters because they wanted a lightning version of a goblin, or a frost version of a goblin, or a swamp version of a goblin. They literally just wanted to have a diverse range of every type of monster that they can put into any environment. So if you wanted to run an adventure which was nothing but oozes, you would have an ooze goblin, or at least a template of an ooze creature that you can put on any other type of creature. So it was really not so much looking at Dungeons and Dragons as a cohesive lore, like they were making creatures to fit a certain locale in a setting. They were just making creatures that could fit anything. So a toolbox of creatures that you could make your own campaigns with, which is fine. But obviously there's not a lot of lore that matches up with that, because it wasn't made in consideration with the lore. I'm not saying that it's lesser because of it, or should be ignored. I'm just saying that I'm not going to invent lore for it that doesn't exist. Yeah, well, so elementals seem to have a different sort of take on members of their own kind being enslaved by others. They just generally don't care whether another elemental creature has been enslaved for thousands of years or not, because they're timeless. Elementals are, unless killed, they're immortal. Aboleth controlled Tarask, possible. Yeah, exactly, Dragon Tail. Those are really good source books. Grilled pike. I've not had the pleasure of eating pike before. Are the alternate dimension primes, or the Feywild and Shadowfell, different layers of the prime? Yes and no. So it's the Feywild isn't. It's like a dream. It's like when the astral plane and the material plane mix together, and they don't match up very well. So it's very hard to get into the Feywild. For instance, you don't just walk through a portal into the Feywild typically. In stories and folklore and stuff, you fall into the Feywild by mistake, and it's very hard to get out of it because you're lost in the Feywild. You're lost in the first place, which is how you found the place, or it found you. Or you came to the attention of a Fey power, which basically pulled you into the Feywild, and now it's up to you to find a way to get back out again. That's really the whole point of having the Feywild as a story element. Is it's this dreamy, dangerous environment. And it has its own rules. Like when you're in a dream, you conform to the rules of the dream, and they seem perfectly normal to you. And that's pretty much how the Feywild works. Can genies create other genies magically? Yeah, they can do everything with magic. They're so broken. K. Fisher Chowder, yeah. They absolutely do celebrate holidays, Adam, to their devoted gods, for sure. There's all sorts of religious festivals and stuff in the various settings of Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously, the ones in Faerun are pretty complicated because they love to come up with specific things for different towns and locations. So not only are there generally held festivals for gods, and generally held times that those gods prefer to be worshipped, but there's also individual celebrations for regions that are specific to those particular places. A mega chaos ooze. The National Geographic of Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks, I'll take that. That's awesome, thank you. If magic is a side effect of the Dawn War, does that mean that arcane magic could spontaneously change or even go away? Also, how does that work with things like the weave? Yeah, absolutely. So arcane magic is feng shui, like it's the flow of natural forces and stuff, and arcane magic is basically arcana, so it's knowledge of how to manipulate that or how to change it by learning how it was done in the past and then copying it and reworking it and rejigging it. So it's all about learning what the system is and how to manipulate it. Divine magic is calling on the faith of your clergy and all of the followers of that god across the multiverse to will that the god can do a certain thing, and then the god allows you through them to make it so. And so they change reality. So much like the Feywild thing, you are literally pulling reality into your god's version of how it should be. So they fundamentally change things, and they bypass the whole arcana thing because the clergy don't necessarily know how to do it. So their scrolls and things are prayers. They're not formula for doing stuff. Well, in some ways they are, because it's got the right supplication or the right way to pray to the god to get it to work. But really, they just are really, really inspiring texts and stuff written in specific languages that clergy can understand. That's the whole point of divine scrolls. And anybody can use them. Yeah, you can pick my brain on psionic technology anytime you like, Stanchscape. Results may vary. So, magic exists in worlds where the gods aren't there, and it works in a specific sort of way that it's quite dangerous to draw on magic because everything that you take from the environment is drained from it. So on worlds where the gods exist, they modify the use of magic so that it doesn't damage the world around you when you're drawing on all this power. So they do the whole background mechanics of it. So say you're drawing on fire, you don't just instantly suck all the heat out, from everything around you to create a tiny little fireball. They are drawing from elemental power and desert suns and all that sort of stuff and feeding it into that place so that you can use that magic. The weave of Mystra is just that. It's a network where she sort of matrix-like allows you to change reality without damaging the overall program going on around you. And when the gods aren't there, things get really messed up, which is why the world of Dark Sun is fun to play in. Thanks, Aaron. If I played a Paladin Watch God, what god did I follow? I don't know if there is a Paladin order of Ogma, but that would be me. Ogma and Denier. Do Tarrasques have souls? I don't know. It's not really a sentient creature, so not that valuable. Just big doesn't mean better in souls. If Moradin the supreme crafting god for the entire prime, or only certain spheres, the entire prime. So he's a greater crafting god of the multiverse. Maybe not Ravnica, but certainly the world that contains all of the D&D worlds that we know of so far. Do souls retain memory? So Mossy Golems, some souls do. They tend to have more memories at the start before they sort of go through the treadmill of being killed and tortured and reincarnated and stuff. So Archons and stuff that basically celestial souls, good souls, don't go through that whole winnowing process. So they tend to have quite intact memories. And as for the specific seed used for woodwode, I'm not entirely sure. Not necessarily green scythe. I mean, not every evil deity has evil followers and evil worshipping and evil stuff going on. They can hide behind the pretense of a family fun day, you know, which is something that I wanted to expand on with that Seska, the Bane cleric that I've got in my recent videos. I wanted to expand a little bit and tell you that you can actually be a priest or a cleric of an evil god and not be evil yourself. In Seska's case, she's got some interesting backstory where her alignment actually got changed in the course of the game, which is something that a lot of people didn't realize may have been the case. It's like, what? You can't be a good cleric? Actually, yeah, you can. You don't necessarily lose your your clerical powers just because your alignment changes in 5th edition. So what are the repercussions for that? Ogma and Dania totally fit you, absolutely. I should have a little silver scroll right here. You've heard complaints about the arcane domain. I don't know what those complaints were. Yeah, I've used the tiny cannibalistic halflings as a cult in another campaign setting that I had. It was a homebrew campaign setting, and halflings were the bad guys in that one because their unnatural hunger, like the idea that halflings have second breakfast and stuff. I took a dark turn on that, so they actually had cannibal cults of halflings. Yar, X-Poison. X-Poison! So magic is using the life force of things around you. Not necessarily. It's using the energy of things around you. Your weekly request. Yep. Well, people are getting. I'm getting further and further away from people who remember my crafting talent. I suppose I should do some more. Who's keen for me to do a crafting video this week? And what monster should I sculpt for you? It's up to you. And don't say Demogorgon. Nothing over like a foot tall, please. Yup tup. Well, yeah, I'm talking about modern clerics, William, not old school editions where alignment was absolutely a requirement. So the idea that now you can be any alignment and follow any god in Dungeons and Dragons. What implications does that have? A Bane family fun day. Oh yeah, challenge accepted. Clerics of Talos, yeah. Sculpt a Behir. I'd be keen for a Behir. A succubus, you wish. Ogre Magi. You only really watch for lore videos. Well, I'll be talking about the lore of the creature at the same time, possibly. Cave Fisher, yeah, that's challenging. Crafting Stream, yeah. So a bonus stream where I just craft and talk over the background. Bear in mind though, this is not like taking away any of my regular videos, so I'll still be putting out at least 2 monster videos every week. Maybe doing a possible live streaming crafting like thing where I answer questions and talk and stuff, but actual like sculpt stuff at the same time, or draw. Could I make a kraken? Absolutely. I mean, it's not that hard. It's just tentacles and stuff. The Church of Cyric knows how to party. Snuff party. Chronomental from Tome of Beasts. Ooh. Piercer and Roper. That's a good idea. Piercer and Roper. That gives me an idea. Alright. Piercer and Roper it is. Well, Remoras isn't that difficult as a sculpting task because they're basically just an insectoid body with a lot of legs. So it only seems complicated because it's intricate. Arinyes, yep. Yeah, stream. So people can take it or leave it. They can pop in and ask me questions and talk. Roper would be quite a challenge. Well, I started out making monster ecology videos during the sculpting of a Roper, so that would be fitting, I think. Growler, really fun to sculpt. I could do a mean growler with a Piercer and Roper. Yeah, it's going to be Piercer and Roper. That settled it. You totally disagree with me about dying in memories. I would love to debate you respectfully. That look. Yeah. My verdict about Dracula Bram Stoker. Did I miss the first part of that? Is there more to that question? I did, didn't I? I missed something. AJ, is the main difference between a cleric and warlock the power of the being they call upon to work their spells? If you asked me on an off day, I would say that the cleric and the warlock are essentially the same class, because they're both channeling the power of a divine entity. The warlock in this case is channeling the power of a being which doesn't provide it to everybody, so you can have much lesser creatures being warlocks, patrons, and some of them don't actually have the power to channel that energy themselves. They need an outside third party to channel that power in the first place, which has got some repercussions in the lore and stuff. But there are cases where an entity gains a power source but can't make use of it themselves. They have to channel it through a mortal, in which case they make themselves available to be a warlock patron, and their terms are pretty lenient because really they're just using that mortal creature towards an end. So their sort of contracts will be every now and then I'm going to call upon you for a favor. You need to do something for me, and you better not fail because I will take away your power if you do so. So their pacts are somewhat different, and their repercussions for their pacts are immediate and in the campaign itself, whereas other ones are simply just going to take their soul when they die, or they're going to take their sanity slowly, so that when at the end of their D&D career, when the character sheet is sort of hung up, they become a bad guy because they're now, their brain is gone, their soul has departed their body and they've been infested by an elder thing. So that's the point where they get tentacles in odd places. Gods, on the other hand, it's a contract for them in that you're worshipping them, you're providing them with power, and not only that, you're also supposed to be a representative of their power to the populace that gets people to worship them more because they can see the action of that god in effect. So they see the symbols of that god, they see that god's living representative representing that god's power and philosophy. So it's a contract of agreement. Hey, thanks for the sweet. For my health, thank you. Gesundheit. What materials do I use for sculpting? Typically, I'll use tin foil and Sculpey and green stuff and epoxy resin. Oh, okay, Dragon. Yeah, that's cool. A demi-lich that lights up. I like that idea. I tend to avoid things which, like LEDs and stuff like that in crafting. Good to see you too, Tony. Yeah, so Eberron and Dark Sun are cut off from divine powers. You're making an epoxy golem. Cool. Oh no, Dog Dog. F in the chat for Dog Dog's phone. What is luminous being? If avatars of deities are other versions of that deity from different worlds, what happens when that version of the deity is completely different than the original, like good versus evil? They're typically not that opposed. I guess they just don't sync up with the rest of it. So in that particular multiverse, that god won't be represented by an avatar. Thanks, everyone. An epoxy golem sounds, yeah, like if that's an actual creature, an epoxy golem, that sounds terrifying. So it hits you with an ooze that can solidify and crystallize. That sounds like a tough fight. What's the Dark Sun setting like? It's a dystopian Dungeons and Dragons world where the sun is literally going dark. It's turning into a red giant. So the world is incredibly ancient. This is a direct sort of homage to a series of fantasy novels by Jack Vance that were the inspiration for the magic system behind Dungeons and Dragons in the first place. His fire and forget spell system is what we use in Dungeons and Dragons. And in this world, the bones of previous civilizations. So if you've got any familiarity with Numenera, the role-playing game system and setting, it's a bit like that as well, in that the bones of ancient civilizations are under the desert sands that swirl across this place, and it's mostly islands of city-states run by dictators and tyrants, godlike beings who rule everything with an iron claw. And you've got ancient spellcasters who have been transformed into dragons. You've got lich lords, like as sort of Zastam figures. So Thay would be just like a regular sort of city in Dark Sun. And there's a scarcity of metals because all the metals have long since been used up and rusted away. And a lot of resources in this world are bone and living things and stone and stuff like that. And psionics is far more commonplace than magic. So in this setting, if you were porting it directly over to a 5th edition type thing, magic would have a different feel about it because it would be psionic powers as the norm rather than arcane or divine magic. And divine magic basically doesn't exist because the gods have left that world long ago, left it to its own devices. The gods have played out their drama. You could almost say that Dark Sun is an alternate dimension in the far future of a D&D world where the gods and the war of the gods is long since past and over. But you can still reach there because traveling through these transitive planes, time and space are subjective. Can people be familiars for other creatures? Yes, that's what warlocks are. So if avatars have free will, but they are also under complete control of the overall god. Do you think that the main god is sort of a hive mind of all the avatars? Yes. Yeah, very much so. Never forget rest in spaghetti. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. Crossover to other franchises we have. Quoting Star Wars, you are. I'm trying to make an Underdark grill off for the campaign. A fantasy would a good way to make a fantasy grill. Grill? Oh, you mean like same Rise? Are you saying that you're having like a barbecue, and you're theming it with Underdark stuff? And what would be some menu items? Is that what you're asking me? Can you extract the metal that was dissolved in a slime? Yes, you can. Basic chemistry, it's impossible to destroy atoms. They're always there. So it's just a matter of chemistry to extract them and reconstitute them again. Dark Sun is like Cytherean but nicer. Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously deities can make avatars, so they can make representative bodies for themselves in that particular dimension. You made a golem made of adamantite and diamond, CR16. Did I read Numenera? Yeah, roughly. So I know I'm familiar with the rule system and stuff. I like the idea of the DM getting the players to do all the dice rolling. That's pretty cool because it just gives them the ability to focus on narrative, and that's fine. Numenera's not my cup of tea though. I played in a Numenera campaign, and it was I played it like I thought it should be played. So my character was doing lots of real gonzo stuff. There were scenes like I was racing across the desert, kind of like the X-wings speeding across the lake to attack the forces. So when my character arrived on the scene, he was I took him directly from Warhammer, oh not Warhammer, 2000 AD mech warriors, ABC warriors, and there's this character called Joe Pineapples, and so my character was Joe Pineapples on the world of Numenera. So he's this sentient android assassin who wore like a almost like a pimp outfit, and yeah, did some crazy stuff. So I played it 1000% cheeseball, really. Played it to be cool, and you can totally do that with Numenera. It's really designed to have fantastic, over the top, high fantasy with a combination with a hint of sci-fi to it. Dragon Chill, the Prime. So the only limitation on 9th level spells is on Faerun itself. It's on the world of Toril, and possibly even only on the continent of Faerun. So it may actually be possible to do 9th level spells on Chult even, because Chult is, by agreement with the gods, is ruled over by Ubtao, who's a primordial. So it's almost like there's a demarcation zone. And of course, in Karatur, the Celestial Court rules over Karatur, not the main pantheon of Faerun. Although Mistra probably has something to say about Gond, and Mistra as greater gods probably have something to do with the use of magic and stuff like that. We don't know what the politics between the gods are. Different pantheons. An Underdark themed barbecue. Excellent. Lots of scampi. Lots of crustaceans. Crawfish. Lobster. For sure. Unnamed white meat of some kind. Use lots of colourful food dyes. Non-toxic stuff. A lot of green and purple. Exactly, William. Yeah. Um, Although I talk a lot about the hard definitions for things like deities, it's really a lot more subjective than that in day-to-day practice in playing Dungeons and Dragons. Your characters aren't really going to interact with gods on a one-to-one basis. When gods like if Moradin arrived on the scene in your D&D game, he's going to change the entire region. I mean, look at it this way: you've got legendary lair effects for even high-powered dragons. Think about the power level of a greater god like Moradin and what it would be if they stepped foot in any way on a world. If the full concentration of Moradin concentrates on your character and what your character is doing, you essentially take away all agency from your character, and Moradin is now in control of that entire story. So yeah, you don't take on Moradin, and you don't directly involve Moradin in your campaign, sort of thing. At best, it's the attention of one of his avatars, and if he shows up, it changes the course of a civilization, of a major battle, of a natural disaster, of a supernatural occurrence. You know, if the far realm punches through, or if there's an incursion of the blood war, which spills out into Waterdeep, that's when a greater god sends an avatar to have a look in and make sure and puts things back to rights real quick. So gods are your stepping in as the DM and making sure everything's working fine, doesn't run out of control. Kendrick, no, I haven't made a video about Blibdoopulp yet. I'm looking forward to that, actually, because she's crazy. Your column's not Doomsday. Sounds a little bit like Doomsday. Yeah, well, Rifts can. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Rifts. In fact, I wrote some material for Rifts that got published in the Rifter number 23. Go and look it up. There's my name in lights. I invented the spell, the Blade Mage. Yeah, Zugged Boy. Everything's jello. Mike and its salad, yeah. I like a high magic campaign. I just do. Are there any cases of a universe being restarted after the gods have left it? Well, we don't know how often that's actually happened. It's obviously happened a few times in the main sort of D&D multiverse storyline, because we've got spell weavers and that sort of thing telling us that the universe used to be different. That sounds like a t-shirt I would wear, Mossy Golem. Introduce Dungeon Master from the D&D cartoon. You found a mysterious roller coaster wagon in a cave. I like it. Yeah, I agree, William. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to easily encounter deities. It just doesn't happen. That's something that Hollywood allows us to think about. Demigods, even demigods, like we've got the Empyreans, for instance, are the version of demigods that we have for the D&D 5th edition, and you don't want to encounter those things. I mean, their temper tantrums form storms. You know, they frown and lightning bolts fall out of the sky. You gave angels a currency; they're little clouds trapped in tiny force fields. That's awesome. It's like, what's this? Oh, it's a baby's smile. It's like, oh, little packets of joy. That's fantastic. Yeah, I've been thinking about some 2020 t-shirt designs to replace my current stable of t-shirt designs. In fact, what do you guys think about me opening it up to some designers in the fans of the channel who want to come up with a t-shirt design, and I'll actually share some profits from it. 50% of any money made from t-shirt sales with your design on it. How's that sound? And the community can vote on their favorite design. Should that be a thing? Vote now. We don't know, Dragon Turtle. We don't know where the gods went in Dark Sun. Italian Myconins Portobello flavoured. Dragon Turtle, you're asking me lots of questions which I previously answered. No, you don't have to, like, the Elven High Magic doesn't have to include the death of the mage casting the spell. It's just fairly typical in the lore that it does that they do. What? Rift 26 is $51? Good grief. Maybe I should sell my copies of Rift 23. It's probably sold out. The Coyote. No, John, I haven't done a video on the Coyote yet. Yeah, they're awesome. A Piercer and Roper shirt. Ah, that's a good idea. Begins drawing for the first time in 15 years. I'll also accept carvings. If you make a carving and then take a photo of it and turn it into a t-shirt design, that's cool. If the gods, thanks Sun Warrior, if the gods were all removed from the material plane and planet travel was prevented, who do you think would ultimately take over control of the mortal races? Elder evils, aberrations, trapped fiends. If the gods were completely removed, then essentially the demons would take over everything, which is quite often what happens, which is why we have near infinite layers of the abyss, because all those layers were once prime material planes. You know, pockets of reality. Not just prime material planes, they're also demi-planes and things like that were abandoned by their creators long ago. So, for instance, if you had a high elven mythal where the creator was existing in a demi-plane of their own existence, their own creation, so their soul was effectively running their own eternity, and then it got broken into but through some of their experiments, and the demons basically took over, then that could be a plane of the abyss, a layer of the abyss. So it could be possible, in theory, to shut down that layer of the abyss by finding the original high elven mage who controls it, who's been corrupted by the demons, and slaying it, therefore shutting down the spell. So you could actually get rid of a layer of the abyss. Bear in mind, though, that a pantheon once tried to do that. They actually successfully did destroy a few layers of the abyss, and the abyss then fought back and turned all of them into another breed of demons. So they messed them up so bad that their thoughts and dreams became demons, a new breed of demon. That's where you get the book and stuff like that from Mordenkainen Stone of Foes, which is great. I really love those. I really love that lore. Is there a god for gambling in D&D? Yeah, Tamora is one of the gambling gods. Bodie McBoatface. I'd be fine with having the version of a Bodie McBoatface. I mean, because these shirts should be something that the community enjoys. Buonasera. Hello, Revenant Angel. It's been a while. Can one of your new shirts be Piercer holding a straw over a mirror with lines of pink ooze dust on it? Maybe. If I were a god, would knowledge be one of my domains? Yeah, obviously. For sure, Daniel. Oh, so that's different, Dragon Turtle. Sacrificing somebody against their will for a magic ritual or spell. That's a totally different story. And elves typically don't do that. And drow certainly do. Could someone go to the Nine Hells for disobeying an evil god by being good or a lawful god by being chaotic? Yeah, yeah. That's the thing too. This is something that I was talking about with the others on Discord this morning. By the way, I've been a lot more active in the Discord chats. Usually earlier on in the day, it's usually like evening or something. So these days, when I turn on my computer, Discord pops up as the first program that automatically opens. So I check Discord as soon as I turn on my computer every day. So I'm checking Discord every single day now. And in the chat, we were talking about. Um, the I've lost my train of thought. um, the oh yeah, alignments. So in play in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, alignment is way less important than it used to be. In fact, you can play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons without alignment at all, and it doesn't affect anything. So a lot of the problems with this lore that I've been telling you about, the alignment of the planes of existence, the outer planes, it's because they are realms of thought and philosophy and belief more than anything else, and that's obviously divided up into different types of thinking. In the prime material plane, your alignment doesn't matter as much. So I'm perfectly okay with alignment not being an issue in campaigns, and in my games, typically it doesn't matter what alignment the character is. It really is just what the actions of that character are. However, if you are a divine servant or if you are a devotee of a certain faith or something like that, and it's a major part of your character's story, then it's more important what that character's decisions and stuff are, whether it goes with or against their faith. When a character dies in D&D and they go through the ethereal plane to the middle ground of the fugue plane, and they go and get judged by Kalimvor or whatever god or deity is in charge of judging the souls of the dead, which is fairly typical across most pantheons and mythologies, then then that's when their entire life is gauged and judged. So there may be instances where they've broken some rules and stuff, and they've made recompense. You know, they've sinned and they've been forgiven, or whatever their particular religion and faith is. And don't forget that their whole attitude may change and shift during their life, and there's a pantheon of gods, and there's also other gods of other species and stuff in Dungeons and Dragons that are in play. So it's incredibly complicated. So it's very hard for me to make definitive answers and things on things like that, because the lore doesn't necessarily match up with the gameplay, and really the gameplay is the thing of most use for people in the D&D world. It's interesting for world building and stuff like that, because it gives the DMs ideas on how their non-player characters work and stories that the player characters then get involved with. But it shouldn't really dictate what the player characters can and can't do, their agency as running their characters and their stories in their game, in your game, I should say, if that makes any sense. So take it with a grain of salt. Hey, Mr. L. Flashbacks to Zote. I don't know what Zote is. What colours in Magic the Gathering give you minions? Pretty much everything these days. Let's see. Angels and soldiers and wolves and saprolings, which are little fungus critters, are the ones I use most often. There's also elementals. You can turn lands into minions. Lots. Zombies. Spirits. Elves. Good-natured aboleths. Sacrilege. Lore on dwarven monks. Yeah, sure. You could say that the Battle Rager is a Dwarven monk. Would you agree? They concentrate on hand-to-hand combat. They're all about building up their dwarviness. Like Thibault Point in the Drizzt novels is your stereotypical battle rager, and in many ways I look at him and I think, yep, that's a monk. That's a monk, all right. Squirrels, best tribe in Magic the Gathering. I haven't encountered any squirrels lately. Zombie decks, yeah. How high a level is too high for a player character? Say your player reached level 20 plus. Is that too high? No, I don't think so. Like D&D Basic, for instance, the Mystara setting, the D&D Basic rule system. Mystara was fantastic because you had the ability to go from a first level character all the way to being a god, one of the powers of that setting. Mystara doesn't necessarily have gods per se; it's got powers, and the powers are essentially ascended mortals who have become demigods or gods. It takes a really, really long time and really, really dedicated campaign to get your character to becoming that level. But one of the reasons why other beings don't mess with Mystara is because if a divine entity or a demon or something like that pops into Mystara and starts causing trouble, the immortals show up and kick its ass 7 ways from Sunday. And that's essentially what they do. They are massively high-level adventurers who just involve themselves in their own stuff. And then if something comes in and starts messing with the system, then they turn up and beat the crap out of it. And that's a fantastic way of doing things. I really like the Mystara setting. It's one of the most complete and well documented in a time period bodies of lore in Dungeons and Dragons that rivals, I think, Forgotten Realms more so than Greyhawk does. Hey Broswas, nice to see you. So Mystara has that also includes Castle Blackmoor, the Blackmoor setting. The Gutbuster Brigade, yeah. I'm good, thank you, Broswas. How are you? When an Aboleth dies, do the others get the death experience? No, not necessarily, because it's going to reincarnate. It's got the option of reincarnating. It doesn't have to. It can exist on the elemental plane, probably take on other forms and stuff. There's a lot we don't know about Aboleths, and I think we shouldn't know about Aboleths because that gives you leeway to create what you want with Aboleths. So I don't want to overly define them, because that takes away your agency as a dungeon master, because your players may turn around and say, yeah, but AJ said this. I don't want to be that. Yeah, it's literally my only job. I haven't done a video on the Fortress of Memories, no. The Zote is from a video game called Hollow Knight. Oh, okay. The only good Aboleth is a dead one. Tend to agree. Haven't done a lore video on the Inevitables yet. Looking forward to that one. The Maruts. Magic costs the life force of things around it. Does that mean that that all the magic does that, and that the weave just makes sure that it is more spread out, or am I wrong? Yeah, no, you're correct. So don't forget that deities are connected to the positive plane of energy. They're like right next to it. So Mystra can literally channel power from the positive plane of energy into the weave to make sure that all of the magic can go off without killing everybody. There is, unlike our universe, there are infinite levels of energy and infinite levels of entropy in opposing spheres of opposing parallel dimensions in Dungeons and Dragons. So it's quite unlike the laws of physics that we have here. Which is why I always go, oh, your simulationist medieval idea of Dungeons and Dragons is so quaint. Because it's really not like that. Yeah, Michael's an archangel. What do you guys think of dividing the angel videos up and going into like the lore of angels in D&D in great detail? Do you think there should be choirs of angels? Bone claws. Yeah, I like bone claws. I haven't done a video on bone claws yet. Crikey. That is correct. Gosh, that gave me deja vu, Dog. Talking about when your character hits 20th level, your DM allows you to ask Kalimvor to attack an enemy for you. I felt very strongly that I got asked that question again years ago. Mm. I'm going to end the stream, everybody, as I'm choking on some coffee. Do we say blimey in New Zealand? No, we don't. We're actually pretty rough in our language in New Zealand quite often. I am very non-sweary for a Kiwi. People are quite often quite shocked when they come to New Zealand and they hear our day-to-day language, and the fact that we quite often drop the C-bomb on the street, walking around. Don't die! Let's face it, I'll probably die choking on cheese or coffee, let's face it. Yeah, it's Ian, the stream started a couple of hours early because I just wanted to get in there for people who quite often miss the stream later on, and I have actually caught a lot of people who normally wouldn't be able to catch it, so I'm very happy to have said hello to those people. Next week it will be back to its regular time, I would say. Coffee of choking. Don't fail me now, Kiwi mug. Hey, Faith. Cough, cough. Yeah, exactly. You don't even need to stat angels. Yeah, obviously he's used the C-bomb as a form of punctuation. Kiwis tend to as well. Don't forget there's two different distinct sort of dialectal groups in New Zealand. There's our dialect is called Zild, and the Australian dialect is called Strine. So that's what the dialect of English is that we speak here. And there's High Zild and Low Zild. So High Zild is the English that I'm speaking, which is a more sort of English sounding thing. It's still got the distinct tones of the Kiwi accent, which has been influenced by obviously Maori culture and also a fair bit of Scottish. In some parts of New Zealand they still speak with the rolling R's, like if you're from Gore you can hear the rolling R's coming in the way that they speak, because that's a carryover from the way that everybody in New Zealand used to speak. And if you're from, I don't know, the inner suburbs of Auckland, you might speak like this, bro, and you've got a real strong Kiwi accent. I'm going down to the dairy, get some milk, and for $3. That's low Kiwi accent, which you should be thankful that I don't speak, because it would be very hard to understand me. New Zealanders, I've found, have got a real good ear for English across a much broader range of dialects than Americans do. So Americans have a lot of trouble understanding people with really thick Scottish accents. Kiwis have no problem with that. Or really thick Irish accents, or a real thick South African accent. And we tend to be able to mimic accents pretty well as well. Yeah. Swearing's great. Don't get me wrong. I've got no problem with swearing. I think that for me, I enjoy the challenge of insulting somebody without swearing, because it's more fun to come up with a colourful turn of phrase. As long as it's evocative and gets the imagery going, that's fine. And as long as it's satisfying to say. But if I slam my thumb with a hammer, I'm probably going to swear quite a bit. But if I like drop some pegs on the ground, I don't swear. I just get on with picking them up. Jamaican accents, yeah. Well, there's an incredible diversity of American accents as well, don't forget. Some of the American accents are really hard to understand too. Americans have a much better chance of understanding somebody with a real thick southern accent as well. Yeah, that's right. They used there was one particular trial in England where they called a pig to the stand as a witness against somebody. Good, Bryce. So I'm going to take off now from this live stream. I'll probably go over to Discord if we want to carry on the conversation and people actually want to talk to me. Come and join me in Discord. And I'm going to play some Hands of Magic the Gathering, and I'm going to talk about upcoming videos. Vicious mockery and cutting words. Yeah, exactly. Cajun. Yeah. Cajun's interesting. In your past life, you were a Japanese swear word. This is why I love these live streams. Okay, catch you later, everybody. I'm going to sign off and head on out. I'll be back on Discord in about half an hour to an hour, and I'll catch you all there. I'm going to go and engage in my second Sunday ritual, which is sharing some cheese with my dad.